And he said, "Hey, come on over. I'll get us some sushi. You're going to watch my kids for a little bit, and then we're going to talk about what you want to do with your life." And I'm like, "Oh boy, I don't really know if I like sushi or not."
Hello and welcome to Center for Victory's podcast of Your Best Day Yet. At Center for Victory, we're here to help unlock, reinforce, and enrich relationships through personal and professional development. I'm Eric Guy, Chief Victory Officer at the Center for Victory. Very special guest, Pittsburgh guy today, Pete Schram. He is the CEO and People Engagement Engineer for his company, Latitude. And we're going to dig into this. I'm going to have him tell you about the company because it's a great complementary piece to what we do, a lot of what we do at Center for Victory. And that's how I met Pete. And I was like, dude, this is really cool. He let me use some of the stuff that they're using. But more importantly, Pete, I think today we're going to talk about also the book that's coming out that you've authored coming out this fall. So we should be probably, this will be airing in September. So sometime right around then. So it's called Pathfinders, Navigating Your Career Map with a Personal Brand of Advisors. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So welcome, Pete. If you want to say some things of how you got started, I know, but for our audience listening and watching, how'd you get started? Why are people so important to you?
Yeah, Eric, thanks for having me here. It's exciting to be doing this, and it's cool to have learned so much from you and about your background over the last couple of years. Pittsburgh's not that big of a city, and whenever you find people that care about bettering other people, the circle gets even smaller pretty quick. So it's been fun. I've learned a lot about the PI and what can be done with that. But my story really comes from Butler, Pennsylvania, on a farm, right? Mom and dad and my brother. I'm 6'8", so some of you that may have seen me before, you're like, "Yeah, Pete's a pretty tall guy." You'll actually have to see if maybe I've been the tallest guest that you've ever ever had on here. Now we'll have to find somebody taller, but
I got to think about that.
Yeah, I'm all about helping people, and I love bringing folks together. And I realized the shirt that I had on here was from my time in Hong Kong. We actually won the tug of war championship for the entire country for the team that I was on. And man, that was a lot of fun. And they take it pretty seriously over there. So that was, I guess, 10 years ago now, maybe 10 and a half years ago now. But I guess my why is something that could be helpful for everybody. I get the most fired up when those around me are winning. And my purpose here is to inspire potential and help others amplify opportunities and ignite that spark inside of people. And so my journey went to Washington, Knock High School, Sewickley Academy locally, and then down to Catholic University in Washington, D.C., studied mechanical engineering because I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. And then did just about every club and activity you could do. Played sports, basketball, and track, and then went to work at Lockheed Martin. And every single position I got into, it was, hey, how can I, learn more, build more transferable skills? And so all of those experiences and the people that helped me, almost like a mosaic of mentors, if you will, formed me into who I am today. So I wouldn't be here without all those folks, and I wouldn't be out here without all the trials and tribulations along the way as well.
Yeah, and that's really what's important to you, and that's what we're going to dig into today. So it's good to have another Yinzer on. I've just got back from Japan, Pete, and the guy that was on that does these things for us. We actually climbed Mount Fuji. He is actually a Pittsburgh guy too. He doesn't live in Pittsburgh anymore. And when I said where I was from, he's like, "Oh, another Yinzer." I'm like, "Yes, this is going to be good." All right. And that's how they announced me when I got my little, note and little patch that I had summited the Fuji. He's like, "Okay, here's to another Yinzer, from one Yinzer to another." So this is good stuff. And a lot of people, of course, from the area listen to this. And I think it's important for them to know. One of the reasons that I do this is so that they can reach out to someone like you, because it is important. I mean, talent, hiring is expensive. But losing talent can be extremely expensive for so many different ways. But I think where we should probably start, Pete, is kind of what you talk about, and probably what's in the book is that personal board of advisors.
Yeah, so pretty simple concept, right? Think of the people that have helped guide you on your path up to this point, Eric, and maybe we even, give a shout out to who could be on your personal board. But you think about, everybody knows about the concept of a mentor. I call it a functional mentor, right? Somebody that's has been in your position in the past, right? Maybe 5 to 10 years of experience ahead of you. And then I like to also suggest a different board seat, a different person is a cross-functional mentor, right? So for me, my cross-functional mentor was somebody in real estate, right? I was in engineering, I was in product. I didn't know anything about real estate. Had another cross-functional mentor that was in the legal or marketing side, right? So still a couple years ahead of us, guiding us. The boss is also our supervisor, somebody else that's on our personal board of advisors. And we couple this personal board with our career map, right? Where we've been, where we are, where we want to go. And the good bosses are going to help us outline that career map, what that looks like, map out our professional growth, our tagline, right? And they're going to help us succeed in those places, the what, the how, the when, all those pieces. We're also going to have our sponsor, our super connector on the personal board of advisors. And you go to the website and check these out, right? There's the worksheet, right, that you can fill out, and then a kind of a completed session as well. But it's just a way to structure these different conversations. You get into your champion, who's your split level. And the reason, and we're releasing a career companion app alongside with this so that people can actually track, hey, who's on my board and what's that career map look like? Because a lot of people talk about this, but whenever it comes to taking action, we get busy. We can forget about this stuff. And how often do you say to yourself, man, I should probably call, Tim back. It's been a while, but to have those nudges and reminders every 3 months, every 4 months, that's perfectly fine to do. You have your peer or your buddy on there, somebody that's kind of in the trenches with you, your accountability partner. You can have your successor, right? And then your ally. That's another important one, somebody that's different than you, right? Across those barriers, young to old, male to, right? So it's across the age, the gender, the religion, the culture, socioeconomic status, your background, experience, right? The diversity are not just things that we see with our eyes. So those are the main, so you can have a coach on your personal board. But it's going to change from the beginning to the middle to the end, not one size fits all. Does that make sense, Eric?
It does. And just if you could, like, because we talk about this quite a bit. I mean, and for some people, it's actually a foreign concept. So help us understand the importance of a personal board of advisors.
Yeah. So it's not just one perspective of somebody sharing and guiding you. It's not just all about work, right? That's the other piece that we have to couple the fourth column of our career map, which is what are you doing for fun, right? Hey, you wanted to take that trip to Japan and climb that mountain. Where's the next one on your career map, right? Because if we just focus all on work stuff, it's likely that we're going to burn ourselves out. And I think it's becoming more and more okay to say, hey, I do stuff outside of work, right? Just even at the beginning of the podcast, you said, hey, here's who I am. Here's what I do for work. Here's what I run. Oh, and fun update, right? And I think for us to share more and more of that as leaders is very, very important, because let's face it, that's what the next generation wants in the workforce. That's what I want, right? From millennials to Gen Z to Gen Alpha that's coming after. It's like, hey, show me. I want to work to live. I don't want to any longer live to work.
Yeah, and I think everybody wants that. I think it's just that it's got grab the attention the more and more we go through the generations. But I'm really intrigued, and I know. But if you could go into a little bit of detail on this career map idea and how that works and why it's important, just so if people didn't hear that already.
Yeah. Again, why is it important? If I don't have a plan and I don't have a path, how the heck am I going to get to where I want to go? Sure, maybe you can. Eric, think of this whole concept as we're getting ready to go sailing, Okay. What do you do before you go sailing? Well, you kind of pick out a destination or a couple of spots along the way. You probably get a map of some sort that says, okay, here's the path that we're going to take. Stop here, stop here, stop here. And you might consult a couple of people before, during, and after that journey. Seems pretty reasonable. You might use a couple of tools like a compass, a GPS, something like that. But what do we do for our career? Where's our career compass? Where are our personal guides along the way? And what is that map that we're following? So career map. Okay, if everybody just has like a piece of paper in front of you, right? We're just going to go on the left-hand side. We're going to have the dates, right? So the last 5 years, current, and in the future. Cool. Now across the top of the page, we're going to have 4 columns. And we're going to talk about the positions that we've been in. Like I was an engineer at this company. And the second column are the skills that I developed. And you're like, hold on, is this a resume? There are similarities to the resume, but it's not exactly copy and paste, right? It's a way to visualize these things. So the skills that I developed, and then column 3 are some of my achievements, the education, the milestones, certifications, and then number 4 is where we get into the hobbies and the fun, right? What are you doing that's not work? Because I didn't have that on my career map in 2017. And sure, did I get to do some fun things? But I was in the mindset of like work, 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 work. And as I talk about this more and present on this more, that's not what is always needed. We need some balance and to preach, to walk the walk and talk the talk. And you'll see some new changes coming in the near future where some more balance will be coming into my life because I need to do a better job of that personally too. So does that make sense from the career map perspective? And that's where your personal board members can review where you've been, where you are, and help guide and say, hey, Eric, I see that you want to be CEO of your own company by, 10 years from now. Have you thought about this experience and this experience? How do we get there? Right. So those are some of the compasses. Hey, do this, don't do that. And we have some backup options as well. Right. So building those transferable skills. And I'll give you one quick story of, one of my mentors was this guy that ran a large defense contracting company down in Virginia. And he said, hey, come on over. I'll get us some sushi. You're going to watch my kids for a little bit. And then we're going to talk about what you want to do with your life. And I'm like, oh, boy. I don't really know if I like sushi or not. But then he said, okay, you want to be an individual contributor or you want to be a leader, right? So these are the kinds of things that people will ask, especially early on in your career. And I said, I don't really know. I think I want to be a leader, right? And then he said, well, what kind of a leader? Well, I think I want to manage people and projects and be responsible if good happens and responsible if bad happens and we get it back to good. He said, well, sounds like you need to get some P&L experience. I'm like, great. What's P&L? And so profit and loss. And so I called him back a couple years later and said, hey, I just won a couple of new proposals for this business. I was building robots for the Army at the time as a defense contractor and grew 7 different product lines and 50x'd the dollars and the portfolio value. So I got a little bit of P&L experience.
Yeah. Wow. So talking about this career map board of advisors, when would you say people should think about building out their board?
Yeah, do it now, right? Think in 3 phases we can think of this. Early career, 5 phases actually. Pre-career, early career, mid-career, late career, post-career, okay? And, maybe we just think about pre-career. Okay, maybe I should I'm in high school, I'm in college. Who are those people that I go to for advice and guidance? What do I want to do with my career? Because this is whenever it's most malleable. And it can change over time. You don't have to have all the answers. That's fine. But start to think about those different perspectives and those different individuals that are pushing you in the right direction. And then we think early career. All right, now I have my buddy. I might not have a coach yet, and I probably don't have a successor. And I might have more mentors. And I might not know who my sponsor is yet. That can be a tricky one, as can the ally. Be right, we're not going for any tokenism here. So those are some of the ones that we might not have pre-career or even early career. But then as we get into our mid-career, right, that buddy, maybe we spend less time with our buddy and we're, adding another mentor, right? Maybe at this point it's time for us to get a coach, right? When have you gotten a coach in your career, right? It's whenever you say, hey, I'm here and I need to go up a little bit. Difference, mentor, coach, sponsor. One's giving of their brand, one's giving of their time, one's giving of their expertise, right? We're paying the coach in most instances where we're not paying a mentor. Think of your coach, and you can talk about this a lot better than I can, but it's a very focused thing that we're trying to accomplish. Study for a test, lose 50 pounds, get better at sales versus, and it's very tactical, right? And precise. Whereas with the mentor, it's more strategic and overarching. And sure, you can pay for some mentors, but in this model and methodology, I just assume that we're not paying for these mentors. And then as you get further in your career, how do you pay it forward? And how do you structure, right? You might have more mentees and successors on your personal board. And you're like, Pete, we do all this stuff. Great, right? All this is trying to do is just add a little bit more structure, right? Think about your PMP, right? You're doing a lot of those things. Think about your, Lean Six Sigma black belts. You're doing those things. We're just adding a little bit more structure to this process.
Yeah. And so just before I hit you with the next question here, your software, and I guess how I would best describe it as employee connection software. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So can you just give a little kind of overview of what it is that you do? Because I think it's fascinating, because a lot of the times we want to do things for our people internally, like this stuff. This all sounds good, and we get jazzed about it. A lot of people get jazzed about it, but how have you made it easier with your software? What does it do?
Yeah. So let's talk about kind of the before and after, right? Hey, I'm a leader at an organization and I want employee engagement. Cool. I want to invest in my people. I want a good culture. Nobody's going to disagree with any of that. And I ask one question to get started, Eric, and it's, what actions has your organization taken since your last engagement survey? What have you done since the last survey? We learn a lot from that, right? I've done them. I haven't done them. It's bad results. I don't know what to do. Most often, if they're doing them, they say, I don't know what's next. So think of Latitude as the what's next to the engagement survey. We also offer the engagement survey now so that you say, hey, I don't really know. You got a good one? Like, I can put something together in Google Forms or SurveyMonkey or Qualtrics. You could use other competitors, but where it falls short is you do the survey and then you need to go find somebody to give you the recommendations and then do the analytics. And then you need to pay money for another solution. And so over the last couple of years, I've heard this from our partners and clients. It's like, why don't we just do it all in one place, right? Let's make your life easier. Let's measure where your organization is today. Trust, connection, well-being, satisfaction. Cool. And then we're going to say, hey, it's not just the problems. Here's some of the things that you can do. And in the software is the ongoing connection, right? This kind of thing. But imagine if we had an agenda beforehand, we had some notes that we could take in here, suggestions of who else to talk to on my personal board and beyond. Mm-hmm. It's bringing the water cooler conversation back. And for the cost of a cup of coffee per person each month, it's like, all right, I can invest in a little bit of culture, a little bit of connection. And oh, by the way, right, the engineer comes out in me, there's more than 150 metrics that actually show what's happening. So instead of saying, yeah, we're all about employee engagement, now you can say, check out our data and our reports on employee engagement. And now folks are reaching out about, hey, we want to do ESG. Well, Latitude's your S, the social, whenever it comes to your ESG.
Yeah. And that's, now you have some actionable things to go on. And then that's why I was kind of leading into, my next question here is, from your perspective, what can we do to invest in our people to retain that top talent?
Yeah. So I joined Vistage formally recently, and we had a session where we talked about that, actually. And in order to improve retention, I just took a couple of notes from some of the things we were talking about in preparation for this. We want to set the expectation from the start. Hey, here's what this role, needs, and here's what I'm expecting out of you. And it goes both ways, right? And if that's, remote work or hybrid work, set that expectation from the start. The boss is on your personal board of advisors because we always want to know what's expected of us at work. The two biggest reasons that people leave, right? Bad connections and relationships with the people, right? And typically it's directly attributed to the boss, but then also no map to professional growth. So I said, boom, let's tackle both of those things. Then we want to make sure that we are giving our people a chance to grow. So just anybody that's listening to this, when's the last time that you sat down with people in your organization and looked at their career map? Give me a call if you want to talk about what that looks like. There's other folks that I know that can help as well, but it's take time to talk with them. Other things that help out with retention is listen to what they're asking for. It's not one size fits all. There's somebody we worked with, and they would throw happy hours all the time, and they'd get open bar and stuff like that. And then they got some feedback that some folks were really feeling excluded. They're like, I don't want to be around alcohol. I don't want that. That's not for me. I got to go home. I got to do things for the family. And we're not going to always please everybody. But if we ask and say, hey, how do you like to be, compensated? How do you like to be appreciated, thanked, right? Those different pieces. What are those motivation themes for you? There's tools like Latitude that can help out on the engagement side, right? Mentorship programs are super helpful. Again, we'll help out on the onboarding, mentorship, stay interviews, succession planning, manager one-on-ones. A lot of these things can be done. They take time, and you have to do it with intention. Educate your people, right? Is it maybe time to get them a coach, right? How is it time to send them to a conference or a class or maybe a degree program that aligns with this? Can you talk about stretch assignments? Hey, Eric, here's where you are today, and you want to get to this point. Well, maybe we don't give you a promotion and more dollars yet, but we test the waters with some of these other tasks, right? I call them stretch assignments outside of my regular job description. Those are then benefits, right? Think about, are your benefits competitive, inclusive of salary, right? And how can you make that transparent potentially across the organization? Because people are going to stay longer when they feel that sense of belonging, and they have that trust and respect as well.
Yeah, I mean, the connection piece is really big. And, what have you learned through building Latitude and realizing that people aren't in the same phases of mentorship and things like that? What other tips could you give our listeners?
So I think it's important to check yourself and say, do I have time for this? And what are my priorities? And when's the last time you had a formal conversation with your mentor, right? Where you planned it out and you put in an agenda ahead of time and you talked about some of your career map, right? And if you can't think of, the last time, or maybe it's been more than 3 to 6 months, then I'd say, hey guys, let's pump the brakes and let's, get something on the books. The other side of things is to say thank you to all these people, right? But your question was more around, where do we get started? So the first piece is to just start to measure, right? Reach out if you want help with the engagement survey and assessment, but take that first step when you're ready to do the what's afterwards as well. Because what I've also learned is doing something and then nothing, or doing the wrong thing, can be much worse than doing nothing at all. And that comes with the people as well, right? It's a war for talent. Everybody's aware of that. There's 7 million open jobs, and there's a gap of the workforce from the past generations retiring and leaving. And there's just not as many people behind, right? So we don't want to settle for the wrong person, because that might be worse than having nobody in that role. Of course, it's not one size fits all, but
yeah, that's real good points, real good advice. I appreciate that. I know that, going back to something you said earlier, And I just want to emphasize it, and I want you to emphasize it again as well. But we did a study, Predictive Index did a study, I think it was in 18 or 19, where we took, we interviewed 5,000 people, and one of their three biggest things of why they left was there was no intentionality, or there was nothing literally being done about personal growth and development. And that's what people want. I think it was like 57% or 58% of the people actually said that was one of the top three concerns. I really believe in you should be doing that. How do you see it, and would you reemphasize it again for people that are listening?
Yeah, well, here's another stat for you. So McKinsey did a study, 21 to 22, and I don't know how many people that they pulsed, but the top reason for voluntary turnover, 41%, right? The biggest bubble up there was no map to professional growth. So it's huge. So why is this needed, right? I can see where I'm going. Let's go back to that sailing journey we talked about, right? How uneasy are you if you're just going in some direction? You start to see some of those same islands or shoreline again. You're like, hold on, are we going in the right direction? Do you have a destination? Is there a goal? Is there something to look forward to? Right. And you can just be a voyager and an explorer, right? And there's people that, jump from company to company and job to job very quickly. But to have some kind of a plan, to add a little bit more structure, to be able to bounce the ideas off of one another is pretty rewarding. And what we're trying to do is align our interests and our strengths with something that can make us money as well. What do they call it? Ikagi or something? There's a Japanese word for it.
Ikego, or yeah, it's something close to that.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But that's the goal. And so we're just kind of, I call it Kentucky windage, right? Shooting guns on the farm, right? But it's how do we get these different things to come together?
Ikigai, is it Ikigai?
Yes. You got it. But it's how do we say, hey, I like this, I'm good at this, I can get paid for this. And we're not going to have it all figured out immediately. But that's where the career map comes together.
Yeah. And I think it's just taking the time to do it makes a lot of sense. And then, again, a plug for you is to have this software to bring all this information in to make it easier for people, especially supervisors, to do this with their employees and see, tangible results through this. So, how do we find you, Pete? Like how do other, not just other Yinzers around the Pittsburgh area, but how does anybody listening to this or viewing this find you? Or
LinkedIn's the easiest way. Shoot me a message on LinkedIn. I've kind of taken a pause for the last couple of weeks in August, but I'll be back up and running, and that's the easiest way. Share, reach out. You can send an email to me. Just go to the golatitude.com website. But definitely LinkedIn is the easiest way. And if you can't get a hold of me easily, reach out to Eric, and he'll connect us together.
Yeah. So just for those, last name is Pete, last name SCHRAM. Okay,
there you go.
2 M's, and then Go Latitude is Go, and Latitude is LATTITUDE.com. A lot of great stuff on your website. It's very interesting. So I'd really encourage people to even just look at the website and then reach out to you, especially if you're doing anything with us. If any of my clients or anything are listening to this too, it's just another nice bolt on to use with a lot of the stuff we do. So appreciate you being on, Pete. Any other things you want to say? Leave us with a quote, a tip, whatever.
So maybe life is what you make of it, is one. So why not make it great? And then this is one from a statue I used to run past in Hong Kong on the waterfront of Bruce Lee. Right, through all this stuff that's said, right, hopefully you have one action to take. So absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and add what is uniquely your own.
Perfect. Let's end it there. Let's end it on that good note. Thanks a lot, Pete. Thanks a lot for listening, watching. Please make sure you leave the video a like, leave a comment down in the sections below, because we're going to have Pete back, especially after that book comes out. Can't wait to get my hands on that and give it to some owners that I know. If you want more information, you can visit us at centerforvictory.com. And remember, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, make this your best day yet. We'll see you next time.